Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first of what will ultimately be a series of two webinars to discuss the 2020 New American Remodel, which was unveiled this January at the International Builders Show in Las Vegas. This year's home, as you'll soon see, or if you haven't already, is a blend of modern design and desert contemporary. With this year's homes, the brains behind the house wanted to create a beacon of modernity that invited not just the neighbors, but the surrounding subdivisions to follow the house into the contemporary. And we say invite because the surrounding neighborhood was more traditional Vegas than anything else. In this 45-minute webinar, we'll discuss not only how the home was designed, but also why it was designed that particular way. To begin, I'd like to introduce our speakers. First, we have Josh Anderson, who's the owner of Element Building Company, a remodeler and custom home builder operating in both the Southern Nevada and Boise, Idaho markets. He started Element, or at least began thinking about Element, while Anderson was working in the Las Vegas boom economy. Seeing production builders pump out homes after home, he thought there had to be more. He wanted to create something unique, a homeowner experience that surpasses expectations, and so he has for years now. Apart from leading this year's New American Remodel, Anderson was also the builder of the 2014 and 2016 New American homes. Josh Moser, who also works for Element Building Company, is the lead designer and an industry veteran with more than a decade of experience. He holds a master's degree in architecture from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Named the 2018 Best Custom Home Builder in the United States by Home Builder Digest, Phil Keene is an internationally recognized architect, contractor, interior designer, and certified green professional. His company, Phil Keene Design Group, is located in Winter Park, Florida, and is known for creating innovative, one-of-a-kind luxury residences with extraordinary attention to detail, sustainability, and seamless transitions of indoor and outdoor spaces. PKDG offers award-winning architecture and design services worldwide and construction services in the Central Florida area. Phil was the architect, builder, and interior designer of the New American homes in 2012 and 2017, and has been selected to design and build the New American Home 2021 in Winter Park, Florida. So congratulations to Phil for that. Before we actually speak about the home itself, I think we should talk about the neighborhood. It is surrounded by what I think Josh Anderson would describe as traditional Vegas architecture. Josh, could you tell us just a little bit about what the neighborhood looks like surrounding the actual home?
Yeah, the neighborhood is, I think, typical of what you would find in, 1970s. At the time, this would have been very rural. But stucco terrain is the way I like to describe it. It's a clay tile roof, barrel tile roof, and stucco. I mean, that's the predominant Vegas architecture style, actually, that's gone on for decades. But yeah, it's very typical of Las Vegas, the neighborhood that the home is in, and the feel and design of the home.
Excellent. And one thing I noticed when I was visiting the home is that there was a lot of palms in the area, which are a really water-heavy plant. And I just want to highlight that for later on in the discussion. Another thing that's really unique about the area is the equestrian side of it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so there's actually a county park about a block away from the home. It's an equestrian park. And so this particular area of town, there are a number of people with horses, and it's in the, sort of an equestrian, if there were an equestrian part of town, this is it. And so the property immediately south of us in this picture is one of the neighbors. They have an equestrian property with horses on property, as well as the property across the street. They also have equestrian use as well. So that played into kind of our thought process and the way that we designed the home. We've left some space at the back of the lot in the event that the future owners are horse people and would want that to be part of their experience. We tried to accommodate for that in the design.
Excellent. And one other unique thing about the neighborhood is while it's about, I believe it's about 7 miles out from the Strip and about 4 from McCarran, so it's not necessarily detached from anything. While it's quite well positioned, it's still secluded. It's pulled off the Strip, which I think anyone moving into Vegas to be a resident would probably appreciate. But one of the I don't want to call it a downside, but maybe the unfortunate factors of the area is that there is this very busy intersection. Was that difficult when you started sort of planning the house? Is that something that you had anticipated from the very beginning, that you were going to have this sort of busy intersection to deal with, or was it something you more discovered along the way?
No. We obviously are very aware of the intersection. The intersection actually isn't that busy. The draw for us actually on the location was just ease of access. I mean, you're removed and secluded, but it is so easy to get to the heart of Las Vegas from this location. And so part of that intersection right there, a mile down the road, you have your freeway access to the 215, and then, it's another mile to the 215 I-15 interchange. And so there are obviously the intersection played into the design, but as a whole, just the surrounding neighborhood was, something that we were trying to address in our design. In other words, the design of this very much is about controlling the experience you have to the lot. And so as you go through the slides and if you route up the home, you'll see a lot of effort went into kind of creating the experience that you have in the home, which does address the intersection. It addresses the neighboring properties. It addresses, basically everything around us.
So one of the things that I heard from the team surrounding the sort of construction of the remodel is that the intention for choosing this modern desert contemporary design was to also kind of help influence the local neighborhood in terms of maybe helping them in new developments lead the design direction from moving away from more traditional Vegas to a more contemporary style. Is that something that you were thinking about as you were planning the remodel and the design? And maybe that's also a question for you, Phil.
Well, I think the concept was to really embrace the desert sort of, and the inspiration was really sort of instead of looking at classic Vegas modernism, we sort of looked at Palm Springs and kind of got a little inspired by that. So the house has that sort of Palm Springs desert versus Vegas desert. So, but after this home was under construction, some of the neighboring properties, I've seen sort of a modern take on the house, on new homes being constructed in the area. So that's kind of exciting that we may have been part of an influence on the future development of the area.
And so right on the screen now is what we have as the before home. It looks very traditional. What did you call it? Stucco urbanite?
Stucco Turanian.
Or Turanian.
It's just classic Vegas. I mean, it truly is just a clay tile roof and stucco. I mean, that is, if you were to go to Vegas and drive around most of Vegas, that's what you're going to see. I mean, it's just what they've done for decades. And so for us, obviously, like Phil said, we're looking to have some departure from that, and certainly view this area as an area that's untapped and will be one of the next areas where you're going to start seeing a lot more of this stuff come in, given its proximity and ease of access to all the activities downtown. The stadium's a couple miles down the road. There's just a lot of activity that's going to be coming to this area, and so I think it's fun to be part of helping it to transition to something more current.
So this on the screen now is the remodel in its full. And as you can tell from a very cursory glance, it is extremely different, not only in terms of the look, but the yard, everything around. The fence has been taken down. It's a big transition and a good one. I think everyone would agree. But the reason, well, I guess it was going to be an extensive remodel even before you ran into some hiccups. But as you were doing demolition, you guys did run into a few hiccups that kind of altered the course of the remodel. And the first one I want to talk about is termites. There was extensive termite damage. Please, Josh, tell us a little bit about what it was like discovering this and what the steps were that you took as soon as you saw it.
So the original design of the home maintained the original footprint of the house. So basically we were keeping all the perimeter walls and then adding a second story. Part of this is we're trying to design responsibly the, practical, like if you're looking at the design of the house and the efficiency of the home, that obviously is a key driver in what we're creating. And then we're, designing this beautiful aesthetic as well. But so the original intent was to keep the existing home. And so in the remodel process, you go about that by basically dissecting the house, pulling off the roof, and basically disassembling the walls, but doing it with great care because you're going to keep all the perimeter walls. And after going through that whole process, in our due diligence in purchasing the original property, we did go and do some test holes in walls just to see the underlying structure. And it just so happened that both the places that we opened up, there wasn't any sign of termite damage. As we got into it and disassembled and had all of the walls exposed, there was extensive termite damage on three of the perimeter walls we were going to keep. So at that point, we just took down the existing perimeter walls and replaced them with new construction. So,
is this a lesson for you to drill more holes next time, or is this such a rare instance that it's not going to change the way you?
I don't think this is going to change per se the way we do things. This is the first time in 20 years of building in Vegas that I've come across termites. I mean, it's just not very common at all. So it's very, very rare. But yeah, I shouldn't say that. If we were to do a project like this, we would, before we go through the process of dissecting the house, we would go and open up some walls completely and then have a better understanding of what we're dealing with.
And is there?
It would have been much faster. I guess what I'm getting at is it would have been much faster and more cost effective to just demo the entire house from the beginning
rather than
to go in and try and disassemble it. Yeah. So
another issue that you guys ran into was the existing septic system, I believe, was not up to code. And so it caused some delays in terms of having to get a new permit and redo the septic system. Would you mind taking us through a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah, so the original septic system, the previous owner had they'd installed it and then poured the driveway over it, which is against code. Like we can't have septic under driveways. And so we knew we had to go in and make some changes to the location. That whole process of which really what it ended up being was remediating the entire leach field, the previous leach field, and replacing with a new leach field. And so that process turned into quite the ordeal. And then just working through that with the health district, it ended up, creating a month delay in the process. So that was another challenge. Again, septic systems are not something we're typically dealing with in our market, and so and this one, in particular, being not up to code, we had to go in and rectify that.
So moving past the roadblocks, which you guys ended up doing, finished on time. The project still worked out really well. Let's move into the design and what were some of the thoughts behind it. And Phil, maybe this is where you probably might want to chime in a little bit more. In terms of the exterior architecture, can you walk us through the idea behind the size, the scope, the materials you used, and basically what the thought process was fitting it into the neighborhood and just making it the way it is currently?
Sure. So the design is really sitting on top of the original house. So we worked inside of that footprint. So we started with that. One of the area that was on the second floor that you can sort of see from this photograph, that has a terrace that looks out towards the strip. So we wanted to take advantage of that. One of the other things was we wanted to try to keep it compact. So instead of going out, we went up on the additional square footage. One of the nice things about this project was that we were fortunate to work with a stone manufacturer, and so we decided to use sort of a desert stone to clad most of the home, and then also I like to use a lot of glass to sort of pick up the inside and the outside. So we were fortunate to also get some large windows that turned out to be quite stunning. One of the biggest challenges was we had some trees we wanted to try to work around. So we created a courtyard around a tree that was existing and sort of hard to find. In this picture that you just came up with was we moved the garage around to the rear so we could do a 3-car garage, and the original garage, which faced the street, we turned into a master suite. So we were trying to be responsible for the structure that was existing, and it's the same plan, even though we had to take down all the walls. But it's that was really the concept, was to really use that house and to be a true remodel and really salvage some of the beautiful trees.
When choosing the sort of modern aesthetic over the traditional desert one, was it an easy option to not go with stucco?
That was one of the challenges that Josh asked me to do. He said he'd really like to not use stucco on this, so if we could get away with it. So there's very, very limited stucco on the house. Makes it low maintenance, and you don't have to paint it, and it's a nice solution.
So you mentioned the tree in the back, which I do want to talk about because it's a huge part of the house. But before we get there, one of the things I thought was really cool that you guys did was you sort of re-landscaped with Vegas's limitations on water in mind. And so you see throughout the house a bunch of drought-resistant plants. Was that an easy thought process for you guys? Is it something you always do in your houses in Vegas, or was it unique to this house?
No, just part of what we do. Anytime to us, it's part of responsible design. The home's NGBS certified, it's LEED certified. So all of those, landscape selections play into all of that. The other thing that we did in this process was in the front area, we kept as many of the plants and trees that we could that were, drought resistant. And the property has some great trees. We really, one of the, big factors in selecting this home was one of the mulberry tree in the backyard that we really designed kind of the home around. Cause it's just a really cool tree, unique to Vegas. And just really creates kind of this, this experience that we were trying to we're trying to kind of control the experience you have. That was a key element in that. And so the landscape selection really is conducive to living in an extreme desert, and all those selections were made based on that.
So we can see that mulberry tree that you mentioned right here in this shot. It's not a very good shot. I mean, it's a good shot of the house. It looks nice, but you can't see it in its full, but that's essentially what it looks like. One of the things I also wanted to talk about, moving into sort of the courtyard area that you guys had been talking about, was in order to sort of mask a little bit of the sound and visuals from the intersection, which I've been to the house. I don't want to overplay that intersection. It wasn't like some huge, you can't hear yourself think because the intersection's so there. It's just, you have this beautiful house and you can see the 7-Eleven from the background. So it's just an odd juxtaposition. One of the things that you guys are doing have put in a bamboo sort of, I want to call it a fence. I don't know if there's more technical term for it. Tell us a little bit about that decision, what went into that, and maybe even why bamboo.
So if you're, what you also don't see in this shot is just to the left, we have the outdoor kitchen. And the outdoor kitchen is framed by a CMU wall in the back of it with vegetation in front of it to soften the wall. But the height of that wall, the placement of the wall is all very intentional, as well as this bamboo, sort of fence. And really, it's just a continuation where visually, when you're in the home, you're not going to see, in another year, you won't see any of those, any of the structure behind right now that you currently see over the bamboo. The bamboo selection, we love the way it looks. It's really hardy and it grows fast. And so that, that combination allows us to, have a barrier that will be there year round, and will, add to kind of the feel and the experience you have. At the same time, it's accomplishing the goal of blocking what's behind us. I guess I can, I think we lost James. I can talk a little bit more about this though. So now we've stepped back and you can kind of see the CMU wall on the back side of the outdoor kitchen that frames that. The idea is that the bamboo to the right of the wall will continue that, and it'll, be tall enough that, you'll basically have kind of this wall of green that frames in your experience in the backyard.
So perfect. Next we have this angle, just to give you another shot of what the lanai looks like standing in the courtyard. The outdoor kitchen, in terms of the materials you guys used for the chairs, tables, actual cooking, I'm assuming it had to be specific to outdoors. Obviously, a lot of this must be waterproof, special materials. Is that accurate? Hello?
Hello?
Josh Mosher not there?
I'm here.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. I just figured did you want me to answer that? I was thinking Phil or Josh would be answering the design questions.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
I can answer the architecture, but I didn't actually select I thought maybe Josh might want to talk about what was selected. Aren't you talking about the summer kitchen?
Yeah, so talk about the outdoor kitchen, just some of the materials that were used, and also in terms of, just tables, chairs, cabinets. Are these specialty outdoor products, I'm imagining?
Yes. So obviously, when it comes to outdoors, obviously the durability kind of takes precedence of something that's going to be reliable outside. Specifically for the outdoor kitchen, we utilized Danver, their outdoor cabinetry systems, which is a metal metal-clad product, but they were introducing new kind of wood look metal wraps, which are very visually pleasing. So we utilized one of their products here for all of the outdoor cabinetry, and it turned out beautifully. So along with the equipment that was provided by Fire Magic for the grill, and then Brown for the outdoor hood, just really good quality products that'll last outdoors.
So for the pool that we can see just there in the background, and also the waterfall. So the waterfall, obviously aesthetically, it looks very nice. But there was an intention behind the sound, I imagine, at least partly to drown out surrounding sound and just sort of add even a more private feel to the back.
Yes, that was something we intentionally wanted to create, that courtyard to sort of be an oasis. And in the noise, it does a couple of things. It does mask out outside noises, but it also creates a mood. And in the desert, that sound of water just is so refreshing and cooling. So that was a two-part design element.
And do we imagine this pool as a functional, people swimming, splashing around, or was it more of an aesthetic choice just to give it that oasis look and feel?
It's deep enough that you can swim in it. It's more like a social pool, as opposed to a swimming laps kind of pool. But it's functional.
And the last part of the exterior that I wanted to mention, which we've talked about briefly, was the terrace. This thing is designed to the nines. If you want to tell us just a little bit about the thinking that went behind this, I know a lot of it had to do with the view. But what was the imagination for how people are living in this house and what they're going to do with this deck, or this terrace rather?
Josh, you want to answer that, or do you want me to? It's Phil.
Josh Anderson or Moser?
Well, I mean, okay. So I designed the terrace
Josh.
really as a team effort. With this was one of the moments where you get the view of the Strip at night. The way it was designed, furnish-wise. Maybe Josh Mosier, you can talk about details there.
Yeah, so I think about halfway through the process, we actually expanded this outdoor deck to make it twice as large as it was going to be, and really making it truly an extension of the house. I mean, it's definitely a main hub of the house, and so in furnishing it, wanting to create kind of these central nodes where you have the area where the sectional is in the foreground with the TV, so that kind of social node back in there that's focused around the TV and the fireplace, and then the one in the foreground with the fire pit that you see, just kind of another social node to hang out and just really enjoy this space that is completely surrounded by beautiful views.
And something we see in the ceiling, it's a louvered roof. What was
Yes.
Was that a right immediate decision, very easy to make?
That was in the initial concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when we first got together, we talked about doing that. Josh, the two Joshes and myself, and we thought it would be really a great opportunity to look at the stars when you could, or shut it off when it was too hot. So the louvers were one of the initial design concepts.
Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry. And working in conjunction with, so each of those openings between the columns, there's phantom shades provided that, can close off each of those openings. So in addition to the roof being able to have that flexibility and adjustability of opening and closing, we also have that around the perimeter walls. So it's truly a flexible space.
And with those phantom screens down in the winter, I know Vegas doesn't ever, I guess it does get some cold some years. 2019 was pretty rough. But is it able to be, is this a seasonal room for all 4 seasons?
I would think.
Yes, so it gets fully shaded, and it was definitely noticeable with those shades down, just with that fire pit that's in the foreground. That was the only heat source running, and after a half an hour, that entire space was very comfortable. It was no longer freezing. So.
And if you look at the roof, there were the Infratech heaters as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of heating options in that room. As we mentioned, the view of this terrace, which I've seen firsthand and pictures can't really do it justice, but it is quite a lovely view. You can sort of see the strip right on there. At night, it's particularly nice, obviously, as Vegas is totally lit up. So moving into the main interior of the house, we're going to go through room by room, and Josh Moser, we're going to have you sort of talk about basically the design, the style, the materials, what your thinking around the space was, so that other remodelers and architects and designers listening in can sort of glean a little inspiration from your thought process. So if you can, for just a great room in the dining room, as I move to this next slide, which is just going to be a big picture of the place, tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here and why you chose those particular, why'd you made those particular decisions?
So with the interiors, one of the main drivers was to make the space feel comfortable. So what tends to happen in a lot of contemporary or modern design is it becomes very sterile or very uncomfortable in the fact that people, don't want to touch things. It doesn't feel comfortable. So one of the main drivers was to make it feel comfortable. So bringing in that warmth with the finishes. I went a little more dramatic with the darker tones in the home, with kind of the blacks and the dark grays, but making sure that was offset and balanced with all the other softer finishes and lighter tones. So obviously in this great room, this is a major note of the home. Not only how you enter the home is through this space, but it's kind of just the main gathering space of the whole home. Everything ties into this space. So wanting it to definitely feel comfortable, and since it was such a large volume, height-wise, kind of utilizing the lighting, the architectural lighting, to kind of fill the space, not only with light, but just some interest, so that it wasn't just a large cavernous space, but something that people could look up and it's really attractive at night as well, when you're looking from the outside into the home, just seeing through this glass box that Phil designed. It really becomes interesting with the lighting. But also, what's nice about this space, when you enter, you can look straight through the home to that backyard where you see that green screen wall and the pool and all of that kind of central focused design that's been created.
And there is some intention in using this big wall with the fireplace and the TV and
yes,
darker cut through.
So
the materials match the exterior, correct?
Exactly. So one other large aspect of our designs is indoor outdoor. So definitely bringing that exterior stone into the house was very purposeful in tying it indoor and outdoor. But it also brings another tactile element into the home, which is also, for me, very, very interesting, very important for people to be able to want to touch, want a very, very tactile environment.
Is that a more modern concept of tactile design, or has that always been?
I don't know that you can necessarily, tie it in with modern or contemporary design, but just kind of, for me personally, something important. I think bringing in those textures and those elements definitely help with the space.
One of my favorite rooms in the whole house and in most houses is the kitchen. So tell us a little bit. Obviously the style sort of runs throughout the house, but just describe your design process a little bit here and how you imagined, and maybe this is also a question for Phil, but how people would interact in the space and use the kitchen.
Well, yeah, I think I'll let Phil talk to the point of how he was able to lay out the space, connecting yet disconnecting. You can talk about that, Phil.
Yeah, so the concept was that the kitchen would be open to the space but not visible from the front door, so it's sort of tucked back a little bit, and while you can't really see it, there's a really cozy little family TV room right there next to the kitchen, sort of that spot by which, I don't know, it seemed like everybody wants to just be in that spot. They just sort of sit next to the kitchen, and it's really a cozy, really central, sort of the hub of the house is right there. So it seems like everywhere you go, you can get to the kitchen, and you're never trapped in it. It's a moving kind of space. So that, I think that was really successful. Has a lot of hidden storage behind it, and pantry, and has a bar in it. It turned out fantastic.
Yeah, and I really love the design, just for the fact that you can be in this kitchen and still be part of each of those additional spaces, like the great room and this family room, but yet it's still its own space. So it's very well designed, I think.
You guys included both the dining room and then also a dining area in the kitchen right here, this sort of extended table, which I believe is sort of an LG material. What was the thinking behind that additional seating? Was one for more formal gatherings, one's for more casual?
So, a lot of my clients it's kind of a toss-up. A lot of them are straying from the formal dining space and wanting something more incorporated with the kitchen. And so this kind of had a duality with, we have the dining space, in conjunction with the great room, which could become something else. We just have a dining area there, but it's not a separated, designated formal dining space. And so this kind of connected floating countertop with the island was kind of a way to just make it more kind of that active node of the kitchen, being able to sit there or in what would be considered the other dining area, just kind of maximizing seating and spaces to socialize.
And something I see throughout the kitchen, and also as we move into the bar area, which you mentioned, is there is a lot of stainless steel, which is sort of timeless and I think is always popular. But in terms of stainless steel versus black stainless steel and other materials that are being used for appliances these days, why in particular did you guys choose stainless steel? Or was that a matter of just donated product that happened to be stainless steel?
So that aspect of it was product driven. So LG, which was a fantastic provider of the appliances, that's the finish that their product came in that we chose to go with. So yeah, that along with this stainless steel look, we incorporated a lot of kind of the golds and the aged brass intermixed with that. So I think it all worked really well together.
Yeah, it definitely looks good. And just while we're on this bar, as a designer, what is it that you think makes the perfect bar in a house like this?
I don't know. For me, it's keeping it interactive. So we obviously provide the seating there at the countertop of the bar, but the bartender's not trapped behind there and isn't being able to interact with anyone. But what I love most about this space is not only the LG's wine coolers that are storing the wine, but also the wall system that we ended up putting to store the wine as well. Just really becomes an interactive and just very visual aspect of this wine space.
So we'll keep moving to the house. We're probably a little tight on time, but I want to definitely spend a little bit of time on the master bedroom, which you can see, excuse me if I go back just a little bit, includes a huge walk-in closet, a big master bath, and then also the bedroom, which is attached directly to the lanai, which runs into the courtyard. So as we move in here, let's start with the master bath. Talk about some of the materials, the mixing, and why you chose this particular type of sort of steam room shower.
So Phil designed early on to have the tub incorporated into the shower space. So kind of just creating this large kind of wet area for everything. And I think it works really well in incorporating, because we, in keeping with the existing footprint of the home, we're dealing with a much tighter space than normal for our master bath. So I think it's a good use of the space we were given. And as far as the materials, using the dramatic black and the white, just really trying to drive a spa-like feel with this whole bathroom.
The walk-in closet, you guys did custom cabinetry for the entire thing. Was it another means? Was this always meant to be a closet, or did you utilize a tiny room?
It was always meant to be his and hers closet. This is the larger of the two, and then there's another closet for the master across from this one.
And then as we move into the actual bedroom, it's the black bar mantle situation. I believe it's a different tile from the master or the great room, but it still
Correct.
has that sort of similar look. Was that very intentional to sort of give a through line through the house?
Yes, because these these fireplaces are kind of back to back, a little offset from each other, but yeah, kind of creating that continuity that I like to keep throughout the entire house. But this tile had more three-dimensional detail that you can't really see in this photograph, that kind of worked with kind of the up and over treatment that we did behind the bed.
And you can't see it here either, and I wish I had included a better shot, but there's a sort of a custom soffit right above the bed to allow for some interesting lighting. Yeah.
So kind of an additional element that we kind of has that glow of strip lighting that goes up the wall behind the bed, and then creates a full halo around over above the bed as well.
And for actually building that, was that built separately and then installed, or was it built into the framing?
It was built into the framing.
The last room, I believe, or actually the last room we cover is going to be the laundry room. But moving on, the wellness room, which obviously can be converted into an office, another bedroom. You guys created it as a wellness room. What was the thought there? And I imagine it was a particular choice for a wellness room because it sort of fits into the theme of whatever you're trying to create the house for. So maybe tell us a little bit about why it was chosen to be a wellness room.
So as many of our clients are requesting just kind of these kind of gym spaces, or we coined the phrase wellness, just an overall awareness of self-improvement physically, mentally, spiritually if necessary. So this kind of flex space not only houses the gym equipment that we had, but there's a massage table in there. It's really flexible to meet the needs of wellness of the client. So the spa shower, the just overall finishes being a lot softer, and even down to the concept of the finishes we use. The tile that's shown behind the faucet from Kohler is a recycled tile. So kind of, this is a remodel, recycle, rejuvenate, kind of that whole mentality of wellness is what drove this space.
And obviously this is a show home, so it wasn't designed for a specific client. But when you're working with a client and you're trying to get a sort of sense of what wellness would mean to them, is that something that's in your questioning process? How do you bring that up?
Yeah, just more so of what's become kind of a norm in the industry for what's being requested by clients, but also what's being needed. I mean, life is so chaotic now that providing a space that one can separate themselves and kind of take a break and rejuvenate is something that we find very useful and necessary in today's age.
And the final room on the lower floor that we're going to look at is just the laundry room. It's a nice laundry room, but if you want to talk about the specific placement, as you can see, it's kind of near the garage. If you want to talk essentially just about how it was designed and why it was designed that way.
Yeah, it's just designed next to the mudroom. I don't know, Phil, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, so the in the original house, we had a wet area there. There was the master bath was in that space, so it sort of got incorporated into in the original sort of inspiration. So that it was just a good spot. It was near the kitchen, near the mudroom. So it's a functional family laundry, and in the process, I believe it got a little bit bigger than the original design. It was so it's a really nice laundry space.
And is there a sort of size minimum that you would require for a laundry space, or just whatever you have to work with?
I would say as big as possible. No,
yeah, we never get a request for a small laundry.
That's right.
Well, I imagine it would be
all the new gadgets. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say it's like a crucial space, but also like a not crucial space. So I imagine if people want it to be as big as possible, but they don't want it eating up a lot of their square footage, is that a difficult conversation to sometimes have?
I think with some of the new products out, you want to make sure you have enough room to take advantage of those elements. But if a lot of people are doing separate laundries, sort of mini laundries throughout a house, so that you may have several laundries within a single family. But in this particular case, it just became one really beautiful, glamorous laundry.
I like it. So moving into the second level and sort of the final leg of our webinar, it's a similar process. We're just going to be going through some of the rooms to talk about what the sort of inspiration and thinking was behind them. If you went on the walking tour, this is sort of the same direction that you would have gone had you done that. So we're moving in first to the office bathroom and the hall bathroom. The office, it's a room not that dissimilar from the wellness room, but if you guys want to say a few words about the design, Josh, about what the thinking was, how you wanted it to be used.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely can be utilized as another bedroom, but kind of wanted to set this up as, it can be flexible, can be used as another office. And so in the design of it, I went a little more masculine with the finishes, specifically in the bathroom, and just overall design, keeping it keeping it a little different, just to treat it differently rather than just a typical bedroom.
And when you say more masculine with the finishes, can you explain a little bit more about that?
So the picture doesn't really do it justice, but the backsplash tile, a lot of darker tones utilized in this, but metallic is what I would utilize the word for to describe both the cabinetry. The cabinetry's got kind of a metallic, unique finish on it, and then the backsplash tile as well, and then the light fixtures that were used were very industrial, just kind of less elegant finishes and more masculine, I would say.
And also one thing I'd like to note is that this office has a bathroom, which I find extremely convenient, but it's not something I have come to expect from a home, to have a bathroom attached to the office. And it just sort of reminds me that there are so many bathrooms in this house. What was the thinking behind that? Just the more bathrooms, the better.
From a architectural point of view, it was nice to make it as an optional bedroom. So for the next person, having a bathroom, seems like so many Americans now are used to having in-suite bathrooms, that this sort of made sense, so that you could sort of have, it could be a guest bedroom or something like that. So that was the architectural design element.
Right. And moving to the hall bathroom. Oh, and there's an extra little picture of the insanely smart toilet that's in that bathroom. In the hall bathroom, one of the interesting things, there's a lot going on. It's a Kohler smart mirror, beautiful finishes. But one of the things I particularly liked, and you haven't seen a lot of in the U.S., but I've seen a ton in Europe, is these three-dimensional tiles you used for the back wall behind the sink and the mirror. Can you tell me about finding those, seeing this more in design in America?
Yeah, so since this is a powder bath, I tend to have a little more fun, a little more unique finishes in the powder bath. So for me, I used a lot of geometrics in this home, and so finding this three-dimensional tile was really a good find for me to just kind of create something unique, something special for this powder bath.
Was this the first three-dimensional tile you've used?
No, I've used other three-dimensional tiles. The powder bath below this one in the first story, I don't know if we saw a photo of it, but that also has three-dimensional tile on it as well. But yeah, no, I've utilized a lot of three-dimensional tiles recently, and a lot of companies are coming out with more because of how popular they've become.
Oh yeah. The next is we have two bedrooms connected by a Jack and Jill bathroom. And can sort of see generally the setup of how that would look on the floor plan there. If you want to tell us a little bit about, I'm assuming these bedrooms were made assuming that there was going to be kids sharing these. What's the thinking behind it, and how did you decorate it to sort of make it appropriate for whoever's going to be living there? So Phil, you want to talk about why it was structured that way?
Yeah, it was designed to have one less bathroom, really. With a house with so many bathrooms, we just thought that shared bathrooms, if they're done well, are perfect. So this one happened to be, they have a separate sink area and a separate toilet area, so there's a little bit of privacy, but yet the two rooms can share it. So it could be for kids, it could be for guests, one could be an office, one could be, so it could have been used in lots of different ways, but that was the concept.
So this is a unique spot in the house because it's the only place that uses pocketed doors, to my recollection. Is the thinking
There's
there just
pocket
because
doors in
the
the
space
master
is?
as well.
Oh, okay. Is it because the space is so tight it saves on space for pocketed doors, or was there
Yeah.
an opportunity in the wall? Okay.
Yeah, to have swinging doors in this tight space didn't seem practical, so that's why we went with pocket.
Is there any time that you prefer pocket doors when it's not a space concern? Is there been aesthetic choice to make pocket doors, or do you think the swinging doors are still more popular?
I
I don't know.
often use pocket doors,
Yeah,
especially
it's nice when
if
they
you
can
don't want to
disappear.
have. Yeah, yeah. It's sort of like sliding doors for a patio. You know, they just stay out of your way.
Right. But I mean, it is nice. I mean, specifically in this home, you can see each of the doors kind of have a continuity, but they're all different. So, you know, the doors were also gestures to be able to, you know, incorporate more design elements. So when the doors are visible, it is kind of nice to have a little fun with them. But yeah, for pockets, it is kind of nice to just get them out of the way and make them disappear.
Well, the visible doors, like the one we can see in this picture, a lot of them have sort of inserts on the doors, and I believe a lot of it was leather. Is that correct?
Yeah, so True Style is the company that provided the doors, and yeah, the ones down in the master bedroom have leather inserts, whereas these inserts up here are acrylic. So, you know, lots of inserts I utilized in all the doors.
And maybe I'm mistaken, but I haven't seen too many doors like this with inserts in them in recent years. Is this a new thing or a trend that's coming back, or just something that I haven't been aware of?
For me, it was just another way to incorporate design. So, you know, a lot of times doors can just become this thing that people just don't want to deal with. Just make them all the same and simplify. But I think there are also opportunities to make a space more interesting.
So going through the slide deck, here are just a few shots of some of the pocket doors you can see and the interior of the bathroom. You used a lot of interesting lighting in this house.
Yes.
Is this part of the sort of industrial style look?
Yeah, just another opportunity, just like the doors I spoke of, another opportunity to utilize you know, interesting design to make the space fun and interesting. And Progress Lighting provided all the lighting for the home, and they have great product and wanted to demonstrate, you know, specific items. So
I noticed that you use the fixtures all have a sort of similar feel, but they're all different. It almost, I feel like these are the only real pill lights in the house. Is that something that you do in your designs a lot to like create both a theme and diversity by using, you know, light fixtures that are similar but also still different? Because often I'll see a home where they'll just have uniform fixtures.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, the entire project needs to be contiguous and flow seamlessly. So, you know, to have each individual space look like it was done by a different designer is not something that I strive for. So having something kind of an overarching concept and theme is kind of what I go for.
In the final room that I wanted to look at, and on the second floor, is the mechanical room, which is probably the least sexy room in the house, unless you're really into mechanical stuff.
I know. So it does it for some people, you know.
Yeah, no, I get it. But in terms of designing this, and Phil, maybe this is a better question for you, and even Josh Anderson, because of what's going on in this room, you have this Generac. These are like energy storage. There's an air handler, obviously a server. I'm assuming there's a furnace in here somewhere. For the space and having this much equipment in here, was there any special design or architectural tweaks that needed to happen to this room?
Well, I think I would say that it's spacious. That's one of the unique things about the mechanical rooms. A lot of times they're an afterthought, but this one was actually sort of in the center of the house, and it's nice and spacious. So I like a big, mechanical room because people always want to see it. And during the tour, this was like a focal point for all those techno geeks that really want to find out what's going on inside a house. So this is the brains.
Well, it's a lovely room.
It's not the prettiest room, but it works.
Right. But it is a room. It's not just a closet.
Yeah, I mean, you could strip it out if you really wanted to, maybe turn it into another bedroom, who knows. So with that, that concludes the first webinar of our series of 2 on the New American Remodel. Here are a few resources on screen if you guys want to check out Element Building Company, Josh Anderson and Josh Moser, who work for Element, and Phil Keen Design. Or if you want to see more of the house, we couldn't include everything. Our time is short, but you can take a 3D virtual tour of the house. It has little snippets on all the products in the house, and it'll give you a great room or a great look. Otherwise, if you have any questions, because we're running out of time, please send them in and we will get to you sort of off the air. Otherwise, though, thank you for tuning in, and Josh and Phil, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We really appreciate it. If you guys would like to listen to the webinar again or look at the slides, it will be available on proremodeler.com on demand. You can also see it at the current URL that you are at. So please listen, share with your friends, share on social media. We encourage it all. Thank you very much.